All right, ladies and gents, let's check out some new info that was just released by the police and FBI. I do believe state police. So let's check this out. Hold on a minute here. Let me copy that. Let me throw it over here. Paste, and then let me throw it in my description. All right, some new info out that the police are talking about. I guess they're pretty upset at YouTube, social media, for getting involved. I think one of them said they did more harm. We did more harm by getting the guy's face out there and everything. But you know what? If it was if they were already onto him for something else, this is pretty fishy, right? Because the lady at the hairstylist place is almost talking like the police contacted her before maybe he got there. I mean, I seen something where someone was saying the police were asking her to collect hair from him and stuff. So maybe they were already onto him for something else. Maybe I'm not sure, but I know the authorities are telling people that some of these social media, us YouTubers, couch potatoes, uh, made things more difficult. I don't know, but let's check out this new thing from them. I mean, all we're trying to do is help, right? Let's listen.
Every bit of their heart and soul into this investigation to get this suspect brought into custody and taken off the streets. And I cannot thank them enough for that. Also want to thank our law enforcement partners. We are truly blessed in Arkansas. Um, it's not always common, and that's unfortunate, but we have a relationship with our state, local, and federal counterparts that's second to none. There was an incredible amount of cooperation and collaboration that went into this investigation. No part is less than any other's part. Um, there's a total package that has to be looked at, has to be investigated, and these groups work together. Uh,
Value of having a partner is huge. Finding someone you can.
Dang it, stupid commercials.
enough, not just on this case, but
Sorry.
in every case that we work within state police, to have that partnership with them is really valuable. I want to thank the public for providing images and videos from cell phones, home, and business security footage that directly advanced this investigation. We'll talk a little bit more about how that played out, but the information that was put out, the request for information back from the public, directly resulted in this person being brought into custody. It allowed our investigators a starting point to move forward and to use their skills that they've developed over the years and their experience to bring this person into custody. We had about 500 tips that came in through our phone lines, social media. Not only were there a lot of tips that came in, and we're very thankful for that, but there's a lot of people that have to field those tips. And it's not all badge-wearing, gun-toting members of police or Department of Public Safety. We had a lot of civilian personnel that were tasked with that. There was a lot of time and energy spent on triaging those tips and making sure they went to the right people. And so we owe gratitude for that support staff that helped with this as well. Although everyone is innocent until proven guilty, we did confirm this morning that our suspect's DNA has been a positive match to the DNA that we suspected to belong to our suspect at the scene. During an interview with investigators, the suspect indicated.
Okay, so they have his DNA. It matched. And I wonder if they'll throw it through the Codin's computer and see if it hits on anything else. Hopefully, they might get him connected to some other things, maybe, possibly a lot of cold cases, maybe, or something. He's from Oklahoma. He moved to Arkansas, or was uh, getting ready to do a job. Wow, crazy stuff. That is crazy. But from what I'm getting out of this gentleman, he said they got a lot of tips and a lot of social media stuff, and they're thankful for that. But if you see the other videos from another lady, she was saying, well, it made it worse. Social media or whatever made it worse. All right, let's continue to listen to this.
That he did commit these murders. We executed a search warrant at his residence. There were articles found there that are consistent with being involved in this particular crime. And I will let Major Rhodes speak more of that, or more to those details. We do believe he acted alone. We have absolutely no reason to believe that there's anyone else involved, and we do not anticipate any future arrest or any other arrest beyond this suspect. I'm going to go ahead and pass off to Major Stacy Rhodes. She can walk through a little bit.
Okay, now he's saying he worked alone, and there's no evidence that anybody had anything to do with anything else. But if I might ask you, sir, in Arkansas State Police, do you have all of his devices, and have you got all his data back from his devices, whether it be phone, computer? Sir, don't you think maybe you're jumping the gun there yet? I mean, has his DNA been ran through the codings? Have you gone through all of his data records of not a month back, 6 months, maybe a year? To get data to see if maybe he was involved in other things. I mean, you just caught him, and I don't know how fast it is out there, or how fast this computer. If it's anything like the Delphi case, we might be waiting a while to find out the truth. Maybe he was. I wouldn't jump the gun though, and say it's over until you run them through codings and all that, fingerprint, and look at cold cases that, whoa, the MO was similar, or these people were robbed, maybe not killed, but robbed for money, but the description of the robber fit him. Or maybe there were more murders in other states that's possible he could be connected to. Now they're saying they found the guy that's connected to the 4 bodies in Tennessee. So earlier I did a video saying, is it possible this guy was the Devil's Den killer and he was killing other people maybe? So I was wrong about that, because now they have a suspect for that case that they're going after. So I don't know. But when the federal government is on TV telling us that we have a problem with a giant ring of corruption and a ring of pedos, meth, all kinds of stuff, well, can we say, sir, that these people might not, or they might be connected to something bigger? Let's continue to listen to the rest of this video.
More of the information, and I'll return to the podium and we'll answer any questions we can.
Well, good afternoon. As he indicated, I'm Major Stacy Rhodes. I oversee the Criminal Investigation Division for the State Police. And I kind of want to walk you through how we initiated and progressed through our investigation. So as you all know, we responded to a call for service at the state parks. 2 young children were found and indicated that something had happened to their parents on the trail. That initial information that came from the kids gave us our first starting point, which was a description of a suspect. There was another witness at the park that we encountered that gave us additional information about the suspect in a particular vehicle that he was seen leaving the park. With that, we took the information, completed and let me kind of, we'll start there. So from there, we had a pretty good description of our suspect. We did our initial release. Other witnesses came forward that were on the trail during the time that the murders occurred that did not see the murders, but brought forth video footage, photographs that they had taken on their day trip to the park. From that, we obtained a photo. We interviewed witnesses and were able to compile a composite sketch of what we believed our suspect looked like. With that, we received dozens and dozens of tips. With the initial vehicle information that we received, it being a black sedan, one of the initial descriptions was that it was sporty. From that, we received well over 5 or 6, maybe close to 10 videos of this particular car from homes and businesses along the routes in and out of the park. So we were able to ascertain a pretty good description of this vehicle. So with that vehicle information, that became critical in identifying our suspect. So with the photos or the tips that came in with the composite in the photo, as the Colonel said, we received over 500 tips. And initially we were using the names and information to come out to compare with, did they have black vehicles? Did they meet a certain criteria of vehicles?
All right. So what I'm getting is they did their job properly. They went to probably every house, every business on that route and asked, went right to the door. Do you have a video camera outside? Can we look at it? And maybe they did track him right to his house or right to that town, that area. And that's what I call doing their jobs properly. And so therefore it pays to have surveillance, meaning cameras on your property or your apartment or whatever in your little town. It pays to have surveillance. Now, if this was a time of before cameras and before cell phones, what would you had to go on? Nothing really, except for eyewitness accounts. And if nobody's seen him get in that car and he sped away, what would they have had? And no one's seen that car. They would have had, well, we heard a loud car. That's it. That's all they would have had to go on. So it pays. Technology does pay in certain areas to have and invest in. I'm going to be honest. Would this case have been solved so fast before technology came along, cell phones and people having cameras on their own properties? I don't know. I don't think so. They might have had a description of the guy, but if them people didn't have a cell phone with them, what would they have gone on? Just a description. That's it. And if no one's seen him get in that car and he jumped in that car and sped off, and there wasn't cameras along the way, they might not have caught him. So technology does work for certain things, and it works great. And this is one case where technology and people having cameras at their businesses and houses pays. It pays. And I would be thanking them, citizens and businesses, if I was the government, for helping. And they did need help. And the first video that was put out was the police were asking for help and tips on this case, if anyone knew anything or seen anything. And that was on social media. So I would say social media might have had a hand of getting this guy or the case out into the public. I would say it did, but there was a couple people that probably said things they shouldn't have, or accused certain people they shouldn't have. But I agree with some of these people. The sketch did look like that person a little bit, so I can't say no, because the sketch did look a little bit like that person who they thought. And I imagine that sketch looked like many people, right? Many people probably. All right, let's continue to watch this video.
But as we began to hone in on the vehicle, it became clear that it was a Kia Stinger. And we used that information to vet various owners, and our suspect was identified. And with that, we sought him out and we located him at a local barber shop there in Springdale. We took him into custody. And with that, we spoke to him, and he made statements indicating that he had committed these heinous acts.
Okay, so now the story's coming out. They tracked him to the barber shop and arrested him. And the video that we're seeing of the cops walking around inside the barber shop on the ground looking for hair is probably after they apprehended him. They probably wanted the hair follicles that salon lady cut off of him. That's probably why she was nervous, right? She probably is going crazy, right? Here she is cutting someone's hair, and the next thing you know, you got choppers and police and everything all over the freeze. She probably crapped her pants. I know I would have. All right, so now the story is starting to come out. Let's continue.
And our job didn't stop there. We executed a search warrant on his house and also on the vehicle. We are still waiting a lot of testing at the crime lab. But as the colonel said, DNA that was recovered at the initial crime scene matched his DNA that we pulled last night.
Wow, great work. I would say that's pretty good work. They know exactly where he lives. They're inside of his house. Did he have any devices? Did he have a phone? Did he have a phone, a landline? Was he communicating with anybody? Just to be safe. They're saying he acted alone. All right. Well, I hope so. Let's go through his data and everything first before we jump the gun, right? Because we don't know. Maybe the FBI knows. Maybe the FBI was on his butt or something. You know, I find in these cases where the FBI is like right around the corner, right? It's like they bust the guy, and the next thing you know, here's the FBI and everything. And sometimes the FBI, they don't have enough to make an arrest, but they'll watch him just in case he makes a slip up and goes to do something. So very interesting. Let's continue.
Good afternoon. My name is Brandon Carter. I'm the prosecuting attorney for Washington County, Arkansas. The first thing I want to say here today is that my thoughts are with the Brinks family. There are 3 girls who tragically lost their parents in this case. And although today is a good day for law enforcement, there's a shadow over it because of the tragedy that occurred on Saturday. I want to commend the state police for the work they did in this case. I couldn't be more proud to be in Arkansas today. I couldn't be more proud to be a resident of Northwest Arkansas right now, and I'm confident and satisfied with the work that law enforcement did in this case. Especially, I want to note the cooperation I saw between local agencies in this case. I could name them all off, but I have a list here of 7 to 9 agencies that worked hand in hand to quickly solve this crime. And I commend every law enforcement officer that worked on this case. I also commend any member of the public that provided us information that led to the solving of this crime. I want the public to know that they're safe. The defendant in this case is innocent until he's proven guilty. But I'm confident that we have the right defendant in this case, and the public need not worry going forward. Someday they're going to open Devil's Den State Park, and I'll be on the trail myself when that happens.
Well, God bless. I applaud him. He said someday here, Devil's Den will be open, and he'll be on the trails himself walking. It looked like a beautiful place. Some of these YouTubers were pulling up video of the trails, and I guess there's a cave out there, an underground cave with a lagoon in it. It's beautiful. And I hope that these people in Arkansas, in every state in America, opens their eyes and realizes that it pays to protect our state parks. It's the only beautiful thing we got left for our families to go and look at God's creation. And I would spend or think about putting cameras or agents or whatever you want to call it at these trails, whether it be park rangers. You can never have enough cameras, especially where families go to camp and get away from the madness. I'm getting tired of us, the sanctuaries that we go to get away from reality and madness that we get pumped into us 24/7. Our sacred places, whether it be a church or the outdoors, the wilderness, is being invaded by these crazies. And I think it would pay to have more cameras and more defense, whether it be drones, unmanned, whether it be dogs, drones, AI robots, or whatever you want to call them, folks. Whatever it is that you call it, we call them, they're just robots, drones. Whether it's investing in that to make sure that the one place that we have to get away and enjoy life and take a break from the weekends or from the weekday, the work, the job, is safe. I can't believe they pulled funding to these state parks, but it's the only beauty we got left. Let's continue. I applaud the officers on this video. And like he said, every branch of government that helped and every public citizen that tried to help, God bless. Amen.
The defendant will be spending time in Washington County Circuit Court over the course of the coming days. It is my intention to use the full weight of my office to bring this defendant to justice for the Branks family.
Icon Tools complete every repair without giving an inch. Only
Before we open for questions, just want to touch real briefly on something that gets lost in this sometimes, and that's the family story. We've spoken to the family quite a few times over the last several days, and what we heard consistently is what a loving mother and father they were, loving husband and wife that they were towards each other. They absolutely protected those girls to their fullest extent, to the point that it cost them their lives. We're in awe of this mom and dad. We're also in awe of these girls. The information that they were able to provide to start us down this path to be able to make this arrest, it all started with those two little girls. It's incredible. We also don't want to forget that there was a third sister. Thankfully, she was not with the family on the trail that day, but she suffered just as tragic of a loss, and we need to keep that in mind.
Oh my God. Hello, Miss Debbie Fox. How you doing there, little lady? Debbie, oh my God, there was a third sister that wasn't with them that day, and she survived. God bless. All glory to God. Wow, we didn't know about the third child. I wonder how old she was. It's hot out there, little lady. Drink some water and get in front of the fan or air conditioner. Yes, amen. She survived, and she wasn't with them. So there's 3 girls. Oh my God. All right, let's continue.
Because of that, I would plead with you and the public to please be sensitive to the fact that there's a family that's grieving. It's hard to express because I can't understand it, what they're going through. Misinformation hurts. Speculation hurts. When they read things, when we talked to them earlier today, they express that to us, that they're reading things in social media, they're reading things that are just simply not true. And people are speculating, they're talking about things that are not factual, and it hurts. There's no place for that. Along those lines, we have to be very careful in an investigation to be calculated in the amount of information that we put out and when we put that out. I can tell you that this investigative team had one mission and one mission only, and that was to put hands on this suspect and to get him off the streets. And on a daily basis, we got together.
All right, so the family has been watching social media. What channels? I don't know. My condolences to the family. And if this channel upset you at all, my apologies. But we were just trying to help. And they put the information out, and the authorities are the one that the news channels are the ones that put out saying the authorities needed help in finding the person of a double murder. So my condolences to the family. And I agree. I was watching YouTube, and some of them channels did go a little bit crazy, but in the same in the same breath, they also were talking about the case and looking at it. So it actually got the case out there, and that's good. People need to know the public can help. Yeah, Debbie, but everybody was talking about it within a couple days. JLR broke it. JLR was the first one, I do believe, that was on it, him and Nicamel. And then a couple, I covered it, and then a couple other people, covered it, got the word out there on social media. But I think it went bad with somewhere where people might have been calling in saying something about it looked like someone else or something. Maybe. But you know what? I'm going to even protect them ladies and say, well, the sketch did look like probably many people. We have to take that in consideration. Let me see what Debbie's saying. Public needs to know, or people need to know, the public can help. Yeah, many people, Debbie. The sketch did look like many people. It looked like a sketch from other crimes. So I don't know. At least the guy was caught. That's what matters. That's what really matters. And this gentleman is saying that the park will be open soon, or one day here soon, or whatever. I imagine what they're going to do is tighten up security. Anybody that's in real life would say, well, they're going to tighten up security around there, right? They'll open it back up when they have everything in place, right? Cameras, park rangers, four-wheelers, or horses. And then they'll open back up, is what we're hoping. We're hoping to learn from their mistakes. That's what we're hoping. That they learn from the mistakes, overcome and adapt, just like a soldier, just like the government, military. And they overcome and adapt, and then they open the park or whatever. That would be nice. I mean, they did a great job. I'm not saying they didn't. It hasn't even been, 6 days or whatever, 5 days, and they caught him. And I'm going to be honest, if it wasn't for technology, with people having cameras outside their houses and businesses, would we be here today? There's a good chance no. There's a good chance we wouldn't be, because all you would have to go on is a description of the guy. And if no one's seen him, get in that car and drive away. Then what would you have? Well, we're looking for a loud car. Did you see a car? No. But we heard a loud car sped away. That's all we would have had to go on. If it was not for cameras at people's houses and businesses, there's a good chance we wouldn't be here today. Let me see what Debbie said. To be honest, the drawing didn't look much like the dude. That's true. There are people that are saying that. That is true. And the only thing we had to go on was a photo that someone took of the back of him. You didn't see his face in that photo. So even if there wasn't a camera, if the two little girls didn't see him, which they did, they had to go off of them two little girls' descriptions probably. God rest their souls. Well, they're alive. I mean, God rest the family souls, the mother and father. Condolences to all their families. It's horrible. Let's continue.
Then we talked about what we felt like that we could put out to the public and what was going to be advantageous for us in the investigation and what could potentially be detrimental. One thing that we did not want to do is put information out that was going to take attention away from someone that we needed to look at. You have to remember all the information that we're working off of started with two little girls that witnessed the most horrific thing that you could ever imagine.
Andy Powers with Taylor Guitars here at Sweetwater, where we are proud to be introducing
Debbie, what am I supposed to do when these commercials pop up? Am I supposed to stop the video? I'll hit skip.
It was the base of everything that we had. So we had to be careful about relying solely on that information. We had to collaborate that We're also working in an environment that is half a mile into the woods. So by the time that we get the information from these little girls, and then we collaborate that with members from the public, they can talk or they can, give us further information based on the suspect description and things like that. And then that leads us to a vehicle, and then that leads us somewhere else. This is not an episode of CSI, and it's not going to be wrapped up in a 1-hour episode. It takes hours and hours to develop that information, corroborate that information, and know that it's good information, and know that it's something that we can put out. The last thing that we want to be responsible for is putting information out that's going to hinder the investigation or hinder someone's their likelihood of calling us and putting us onto a suspect that we need to be looking at because it didn't meet all the markers that we thought it should meet. So I hope you can be understanding of that, and I hope as we move forward from here that the speculation and a lot of the talk and a lot of the chatter, especially on social media, that people will be very sensitive to that. This family's been through enough, and they don't deserve to be victimized any further than they already are. And with that, I'll open it up for questions.
Colonel, can you elaborate more on what was the reason behind this? What was the motive for this? Was this random, or what happened there? And what was the cause of death? How were they killed?
As far as the motive is concerned, as far as
Miss Debbie, are you still here? Because I'm wondering, are they telling us social media YouTubers not to help, not to talk about the cases? Or are they talking about individual YouTubers? If it was me, my apologies. My apologies. If it was me, but I don't think so. When it comes to crime cases, you're looking for people. Some of us think with open minds. And we come up with wild scenarios because we think out of the box. And sometimes we get it right, and sometimes we get it wrong. So I'm confused of either they want us to continue our jobs as YouTube couch potato reporters or investigators, or go back to our regular jobs, which is watching TV and sitting on the couch instead of YouTube. I'm confused. I'm just saying, I'm confused because they're upset at social media, a couple of these guys. I'm not sure who, but they're upset at somebody for something. Now, I'm not sure. But when I'm on a case, I think with an open mind. I'm thinking, is this guy a psychopath? How much ground can he cover in 3 days? What state can he be in, right? Did he switch cars? Did he switch clothes? Did he cut his hair? As we've seen here, that they caught him in a barbershop, probably trying to maybe disguise his look. Who knows? But I'm just confused, Lord. Either we're trying to help or we're the cause of the trouble. So if you can help us, Lord, figure out, do they want us to continue to talk and get the word out about these cases? Or wait for police, which we've been waiting for police. I said that on the videos I did. We'll wait for the police to come out with info or clues or whatever before we, talk or make a video or whatever. But I could be wrong. I'm no professional. I'm not perfect. God is the King of Kings. Jesus, the disciples, Mother Mary, and me. I'm just a follower. All right, let's get back to this video.
the investigation, it's two parts. The first part of the investigation is always going to be to identify and apprehend the suspect. The second part of the investigation is a lot of the whys and a lot of the details. That's still a part of the investigation. I can tell you that we have no reason to believe that there was any known association between our suspects and our victims. There's nothing to indicate that at all. It appears to be a completely random event. As far as the
Great cocktail. Perfect. Oh, let's go mingle.
the weapon that was used, it was a knife. Our victims died by stab wounds.
All right, this is where I'm going to voice my opinion. Right, this is where I'm going to say, well, let's just replay that, because now I'm getting an Ozzy Osbourne block. Right? What did he just say, bud? What? Let me replay that, because something,
especially on social media, that people will be very sensitive to that. This family's been through enough, and they don't deserve to be victimized any further than they already are. And with that, I'll open it up for questions.
Colonel, can you elaborate more on what was the reason behind this? What was the motive for this? Was this random, or what happened there? And what was the cause of death? How were they killed?
As far as the motive is concerned, as part of the investigation, it's two parts. The first part of the investigation is always going to be to identify and apprehend the suspect. The second part of the investigation is a lot of the whys and a lot of the details. That's still a part of the investigation. I can tell you that we have no reason to believe that there was any known association between our suspects and our victims. There's nothing.
that's what triggered me. Now, if I might say, don't we think it's a little bit too soon in the case to know for 100% fact that there was no communication between these people with the killer? And the only reason I ask is because we're attacked all the time and talk to people with alt accounts on social media. Were the families of these two or these three girls, were they on social media, and did they communicate with people? What if this guy was communicating or watching their account, but under an alt account or fake account? We get attacked all the time in YouTube chats by just a name and a letter. How do we know this soon in the case that there's no connection, that he wasn't watching them, or wasn't, if they were YouTubers, in the chat or Facebook or watching their, I don't know. You might be right, sir. You know more than me, Colonel. You're a colonel. And that's a big cookie where I come from. Right? A colonel is a big cookie. So you probably know a lot more than me, sir. But I'm just asking, sir, is it wrong to think maybe it's just a little bit too soon to say 100% there was no connection between them at all? At all? I mean, I'm going to believe you, sir, because you are a colonel, and that's a very big cookie. So I'm going to take your word on that, sir. Let's get back. What Debbie said. They don't even have the truth. I think because we are speculating so much, nobody on YouTube really has the truth. They don't even have the truth. Well, we don't know this soon in the case. We don't know exactly. Like he said, there's more of the case now. Now the second part of the case starts, is what the good colonel said. Right? There's the first part of the case is catching the guy. The second part of the case is why, what he used. Was there any intent in anything? What was his phone records? Now this is the second part of the case solving job, right? So, but let's continue. Let's continue. And I'm not trying to knock the government or the good colonel at all. They did a great job. They got the guy uh, within days or whatever. And whoever helped, whether it be public or just government, God bless, and all glory goes to God.
Indicate that at all. It appears to be a completely random event. As far as the weapon that was used, it was a knife. Our victims died by stab wounds. Yes, ma'am.
Thanks, Colonel. We've spoken to a few parents from students
You
who
might be right.
he
Debbie.
was their teacher in different states, and they all kind of gave this synopsis of perhaps he was a predator. Their children felt like he preyed on younger aged girls during his time teaching in those states. We were wondering, have you been exploring any connections to the crimes that Mcgann may have been connected with, and any indication that this was his first time committing this? Was he after those girls? Were those his target?
From what we know right now, we have no indication to suggest that the girls were his target.
He knew this was his first time, but he just went to that park that one time.
Oh my God. Did I hear that reporter right, Debbie? Did she just say that there was reports from him being a teacher in another state that they felt their children were getting stalked or watched or whatever? Did I hear that correctly? Let's replay it, because did I hear that correctly, Miss Deborah? Did you hear that? I heard that reporter just said, is it true that there was reports or something like that? Or did you find out if there was reports in the other state where he was a teacher? I'm going to play it again, Sam. I'll play it again, Sam.
Thanks, Colonel. We've spoken to a few parents from students who he was their teacher in different states, and they all kind of gave this synopsis of perhaps he was a predator. Their children felt like he preyed on younger aged girls during his time teaching in those states. We were wondering, have you been exploring any connections to the crimes that Mcgann may have been connected with, and any indication that this was his first time committing this? Was he after those girls? Were those his target?
From what we know right now, we have no indication to suggest that the girls were his target.
That is what I heard, Debbie. That is exactly what she said. That parents at the other state said that it's possible he was a predator, and they felt uncomfortable. Did you hear that, Deborah? Did anybody else out there hear that? But this good gentleman, the colonel, is saying that he thinks that the girls were not the target. Maybe he was a meth head and needed money. Maybe he killed the man and he didn't have no money on him. So he waited for someone else to walk up to kill. Maybe he had a meth problem, steroids or something. I don't know. Debbie, did you hear that? Is that what he said? Is that what the lady reporter said? I want to play that again. I got to play that again. That is a key thing here. I didn't know about this.
Thanks, Colonel. We've spoken to a few parents from students who he was their teacher in different states, and they all kind of gave this synopsis of perhaps he was a predator. Their children felt like he preyed on younger aged girls during his time teaching in those states. We were wondering, have you been exploring any connections to the crimes that Mcgann may have been connected with, and any indication that this was his first time committing this? Was he after those girls? Were those his target?
From what we know right now, we have no indication to suggest that the girls were his target.
All right.
Even if this was his first time, but he just went to that park that one time that day. I heard potentially somebody suspicious could have been there the weekend before. Was he just that first time at the park, or do you think he was laying out and calculating?
Honestly, that would be pure speculation on my part. Now that we have our suspect in custody, there's going to be a part of the investigation that's going to go back, and they're going to look at timelines, and they're going to look at kind of his movements leading up to that. And hopefully that will give us all a better picture of why he did this, how long he had planned this, things like that. But right now, that's all part of the investigation. It would simply be speculation on our part.
I believe he was injured as well. Can you elaborate on that during the attacks?
Yes, he was injured. I do not know the specifics of those injuries. I do know that his injuries resulted in blood loss, and it was that blood loss that allowed us to establish a DNA profile to begin with, and it was that DNA profile that was matched today against our suspect.
I would assume that's any loving parent trying to do whatever they could to protect their loved ones.
Absolutely. I would say you're correct.
Wow. Wow. That is unbelievable. Well, the good colonel said he cannot speculate right now. And I agree with him. He would be speculating if he gave his opinion right now in the case because he don't have all the proof. Now, it's possible that he changes his mind, right? Maybe the girls were the target. Who knows? Maybe maybe it was just a nut job. But I agree with the colonel. The colonel is not a YouTuber, so he can't make theories up. He can't make speculations up. He has to go by what the evidence is in front of him, and he don't have that evidence yet or data. And he's answering the question properly, I believe. Let's continue.
You mentioned some articles found in the house. What was found? So if you'll remember the photo that was of the back of our suspect, we did find items that were consistent with what was seen in that photograph. Was the weapon there?
Not all fungicides are the same. Some offer two modes of action.
Dang fungicide. Always interrupt them when you don't need the fungicide. Oh, dang. Commercials. Let me skip this. Oh, dang it. What'd I miss? Hold on. Back up a little bit here.
Loving parent trying to do whatever they could to protect their loved ones.
Absolutely. I would say you're correct.
All right, Miss
Some
Debbie.
articles found in the house.
Hurry up
What
back.
was found?
We need you.
So if you'll remember the photo that was of the back of our suspect, we did find items that were consistent with what was seen in that photograph. Was the weapon there? Well, we don't know that it's the weapon, but we did collect some knives from the residence. We won't know until we test it, obviously.
The arrest itself, did he resist? Was he easygoing? What did that look like?
No, he was completely cooperative.
Can you speak on the terrain, the area the victims were found in regards to the girls getting to safety to get help. Um, what kind of time frame that would look like for two girls? Was it a rough terrain? Was it something that, another person found them within an hour, or can you speak on that?
So I don't know that we can speak on to the time frame, but the terrain was what you would see in a typical park. I don't know that it was particularly rugged, but it had some inclines. It was fairly maintained, but it was, our estimation was about a half a mile into the park. So you can imagine how long that would take to get out.
One more question.
All right, they found the backpacks and the things that were in the photo. They also collected knives, not one. They collected knives. They were about a half a mile into the woods. So imagine having to run a half a mile to get the girls to safety, because we're confused here. We're getting reports that the mother took off with the children and brought them to the car or the visiting center, and then the mother went back and got attacked. So the guy stayed there. You're talking, you have to run a half a mile with the girls and then turn around and run a half a mile back, a mile there and back. And the guy stayed there, what, 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes? Something ain't right here. That seems pretty crazy to me. Let's continue.
We had heard reports. Can you confirm that the father was stabbed first, the mother took the kids back into the car for safety, went back to help her husband, and then she died too?
So the information that we have is that the husband was attacked first. The mother did not return all the way to the car with the kids. We believe that the mother took them to safety and then returned to help her husband.
And I know you all said that the suspect, I believe, indicated that he had committed these acts. Any more specifics on?
Okay, so there's the thing they're saying. The government is saying that the mother did take off with the kids, but didn't run all the way back to the car with the kids. She only ran so far until the kids were in safety, and then she turned around and went back to help the father, and then she was attacked. That's pretty crazy. But now we know the truth, because the first reports that came out, that the news put out, was the mother ran to the car, put the kids in the car or dropped them off at the visiting building, and then ran back because she was a nurse to try and save her husband. All right, let's continue.
What he may have said since his arrest?
We're not going to comment on that at this point. It wouldn't be fair to the continuing investigation.
And then I assume this would be for maybe more the prosecuting attorney, but do you know yet if you'll pursue the death penalty in this case, or what kind of consequences you might seek?
This case certainly has the aggravators that exist where a jury should get to decide what the punishment for this defendant is my intention to pose that to a jury. So the state will not be waiving the death penalty in this case.
A family member said that they want you to seek the death penalty.
You need the best music for your videos. Go to Motion Array to soundtrack your videos with music you can't get enough of. Just download your track and add it to your timeline seamlessly. Go to motionarray.com now and take your videos from good to the best.
This company is going viral for its new process that gives you permanent.
This.
Defendant's innocent until proven guilty at arraignment. I anticipate he will plead not guilty, as is custom. I don't know that there's a defense attorney in the United States of America that would allow a defendant to appear at their first appearance and plead guilty. So it is much, much too early to visit about that.
Has he indicated he's going to seek a public defender, as private attorney or anything like that?
I'm not aware that a private attorney's been retained yet. If he can't afford a private attorney, I anticipate our local public defender's office will be appointed.
I know that y'all spoke that Devil's Den will be closed for the time being, but what about other state parks and the concerns of family and tourists?
Yeah, as far as the question of the state parks being open, I would ask that you send that to Secretary Shea Lewis and his team. I'm not sure, honestly, I don't know what the decision is on that at this point. As far as the safety of our public visiting those state parks, I would say it's absolute as it can be. I mean, it's not like we have a pattern of people being assaulted or attacked in our state parks. You're probably much more likely to be assaulted, getting gas at a convenience store on the way home if you look at statistics. So to echo the prosecutor's comments, I would not hesitate to go to a state park today.
I know you're still looking into it, Stacy, but do you have found any more information about background? We were last night, you recently moved to the Springdale area. Do you have more information you can share? And just employed by the Springdale School District, what else can you tell us?
So, I don't have a whole lot. Some of that we will look into. I can just tell you that we found that he lived in Texas and also Oklahoma and had recently moved here and had taken employment as a teacher. It doesn't sound like he was ever an actual teacher in Arkansas, but that he was a teacher in other locations. Right now we're completely focused on our case here, and we haven't explored any of that background investigation. I fully expect that other jurisdictions will probably reach out to us to see if they have if there are cases throughout the U.S. that may be connected to him. I fully expect that.
But as of right now, he's the only suspect. He's not suspect in any other incidences here in our area.
That's correct. Not that we've been made aware of, that's for sure.
And recently, moved here a few weeks ago, a few months. Do you know?
I believe it's been a few months. Yes, sir.
Major, can you clarify? You say he made statements indicating that he had killed them. Did he flat out confess, or what exactly did he say?
So I was not actually in the room when he was confession, so I'm not going to speak to, I certainly don't want to get that wrong, but just know that he did indicate that he had committed the murders.
But would you I guess would you call it a confession, or you don't know for sure?
I would call it an admission.
Does the suspect have any sort of criminal history that you all know of?
No, he did not. Not any adult criminal history that we've been able to find, for sure.
Did he indicate why Springdale's not that far from the state park? Any indication why he, for 5 days, stayed so close to the scene, or was he planning on fleeing the area or the state at some point?
There was no indication that he was going to flee the area. He actually had a residence in Springdale, so that's why he was in the area. But he gave it doesn't sound like he was making any attempts to conceal. He didn't conceal his car or any of those things. Yes, ma'am.
Any history of mental illness?
Not that we know. We're still exploring. We just took him into custody last night, so we're still, vetting a lot of the information that we don't know about him to this point.
How did police pinpoint him at the barbershop?
Good old-fashioned police work.
Was there any technology used or that aided in the investigation?
Absolutely.
Can you elaborate on that? Like, were there any license plate readers or anything that gave a tip to where he was at that point in time? Or
I'll just say this, that there's rarely a case that we work that doesn't include those types of things. So we used everything. When I say that it was all hands on deck and there was no stone left unturned, it involved all of those technological aspects.
With the high volume of tips that came in, can you elaborate on how you sort of knew which ones to look into?
So we had a really good filtering system, and we are aware initially there were some issues with tips and the phone system that we had in place at that time. Once we implemented the tips line, we had a team around the clock filtering through those, and we had a pretty good matrix of the ones that we would push to the top and the ones that we would term a lower priority. So it's, but most of, if we got into.
All right. Well, at least they got the guy. Good old fashioned police work, they're saying. I'll be dipped in doo-doo. All right, let's see if they get to anything more here. I think we're done. What are we at, an hour? Let me see if they're going to say anything else. There might be something else in here. Let's see.
Change his identity at all?
We don't have any indication that he was doing that. He was obviously getting a haircut, but you could chalk that up to school starts next week. So, but he didn't indicate he was trying to alter that I'm aware of, that he was trying to alter his identity.
And you all mentioned that he was cooperative when you got to the barber shop. Any other initial reaction from him when you all showed up? Anything you can tell us?
That's probably best that I not discuss that so early in the investigation to this point.
Can you speak on the role of social media and helping bring about the arrest of the suspect?
I will say that social media did nothing to help our investigation. I would say that it absolutely hindered our investigation. As you heard the Colonel mention, the hurt and the just the emotional toil that social media gave to that family. It's so easy to be that keyboard warrior and question everything that law enforcement is doing. And I would just simply say that let us do our job. If you've got a tip, give it to us. Don't spread it on social media unless you're an expert. And if you're an expert, you're probably not on social media.
One of the first details that y'all put out about the car was there was tape covering the license plate. Was that the case with his vehicle? And any reason why? Was he trying intentionally to cover up the license plate?
Yes, he did use tape to conceal some of the things that would help identify his vehicle.
Does that lead you to believe at all that he's done this before?
There are indications. I mean, everyone speculates that he took there was a lot of thought that went into this to conceal his identity. I will say that, but on the other side of that, he was also very sloppy. So whether he committed something else, we don't know, but we are certainly going to explore that.
How long between when you determined that he was the suspect that you were looking for and when you made the arrest? How long did that take?
Within the hour.
How long between when he began questioning until he confessed?
I don't know that. I'm sorry.
I think we're just going to take a couple more questions. Anyone else?
Can you speak on which agencies and how many officers that were involved?
Oh, so in any agency that I missed, the Colonel may have included this. I can tell you that the FBI was instrumental, the Washington County Sheriff's Office, the Fayetteville Police Department, just about every agency up there, the Benton County Sheriff's Office with their flock cameras, the Park Service, the Game and Fish. Who am I leaving out? Springdale, absolutely instrumental. They had a detective embedded with us from the very beginning, and just dozens of detectives that were all hands on deck, working round the clock to make sure that we made an arrest. The community deserved that, and that's what we gave them.
And moving forward, the different agencies in supporting these kids, I mean, loss of both of their parents.
Wow. So they're saying
If there's
that
anything that you want to touch
social
on,
media didn't play any part.
I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
Them.
I said moving forward in supporting the kids after the loss of their parents, like if there's anything that you want to say
Well,
on that.
that's
with these-
okay.
the
At
different
least
agencies that are
the
involved.
crime, the murder got out there and got people's awareness.
I'm not sure if I understood
And I-
the question exactly, but I can tell you that Governor Sanders has been in contact with the family multiple times. She's expressed the absolute heartbreak of the state, the support and the prayers that that family will receive, not only from her and her family, but from the state of Arkansas. In addition to that, she's made available any resource that family needs during this recovery process from state agencies, whether that be law enforcement or other type of support agencies. I can also tell you from someone myself that has spoken with the family multiple times, they're an incredibly strong family, and they have a very, very strong family support in place. I have no doubt that those three girls are going to be well taken care of, and they're going to get everything they need from that family. And they also know that if they have a need that we can assist with, we being the state of Arkansas, any type of state public entity, and we will absolutely do that.
Lastly, I know while the investigation is ongoing, you're conducting an internal review, and we'll see could things be done better.
All right. So they're saying that social media didn't play a part in anything. And they wish social media would let the authorities do their jobs. But now you have to keep in mind, all these people are paid by the people. So it's very confused. It's very, the people are the ones that fund these branches and police departments. So you would think that the citizen would have some kind of say in this, But I do also agree with them. Let them do their jobs. All right. At least we got their eyes opened that the citizens themselves are working cases. And there's no law against that. There's no law against that. All right, so I think this is pretty much over with. I still, even though I disagree with some of the things they said, I agree with some of the things they said.
All transfers and information to you released, am I correct? Can you talk to me about that?
If you play guitar and you've ever played checkers, then you already have half the.
Yes, we will always, after any significant incident, we'll debrief it, and we'll look at what we did right, what we did wrong, what we could do better. I can tell you from our vantage point right now, it's hard for me to be critical of anything that our investigators did. They have, this. I know these guys. I know our capabilities, but you forget, honestly, until you see it play out. You see the level of expertise and skill. Cannot say enough about our investigators, and not only the skill set that they use to bring this suspect to justice, but just they put everything into it, their heart and soul. I mean, it was an impressive thing to watch, and so of what we could do better. I'm sure there'll be things, y'all have heard me say it before, our agency is comprised of human beings, and we're always going to make mistakes. There's going to be things that we can fine tune, but from my vantage point right now, I have nothing but gratitude and respect for our investigators and the way this was handled.
Colonel, one more question. Can you confirm when you spoke to him after the arrest that this was not, he didn't know them, he didn't know the family at all, this was just a pure accidental coincidence that he targeted them?
I can confirm that, and again, as Major Rhodes said, I was not present for the interview, and I've not listened to the interview yet. But I can confirm that we have absolutely no indication, no reason whatsoever to believe that there was any connection at all between our suspect and our victims.
I've got one more. Can you elaborate on the role that the FBI and federal law enforcement helped in the investigation?
Yeah, so the first thing I can tell you is how blessed we are with their partnership. The prosecutor and the major both mentioned all the agencies that were involved. What's always nice about that is they don't wait on us to call them. As soon as this was known, as soon as it was made public, honestly, I don't know how they found out as quick as they did. My phone started ringing off the wall from our special agent in charge of FBI in Little Rock, from the sheriffs in the northwest part of Arkansas, the police chiefs in that area, HSI, you name it, just about every agency that you can think of immediately reached out to us for any support that we needed. I cannot specifically tell you what roles they played, but I can tell you that they played significant roles. There was, as the major alluded to, there's part of the investigation is looking at this from the standpoint that it's completely random. There's another part of the investigation that has to close the loophole of is there a connection at all between our suspects and our victims? And unfortunately, in this case, our victims had recently moved here. Their origins are from California. They, I believe, lived in North Dakota most recently. So there's a lot of geographical space and a lot of people that had to be talked to. And we leaned heavily on our, not only our state and local partners, but other state and local and absolutely our federal partners.
I'm just curious about the communication challenges out there. I know we can't get cell service when we go out there.
Right.
I mean, how much did that affect the response, and how did that affect the investigation?
Yes. The answer to that question is yes. It was very challenging. The fact that we did not have cell service and our investigators didn't have cell service, that other campers on the trail didn't. So, again, it kind of goes back to the type of information that was coming in, the amount of information that was coming in, and the time lapse of the information that was coming in. It all factored in. To say this is an unusual crime scene, unusual crime in just about every aspect, it was extremely challenging. And all of those things came into play, from lack of cell service to the terrain itself.
All right, there's only a couple seconds left of it. Well, applause to the authorities. FBI, he said the FBI. How did they find out about it so fast? It's like they popped up. They're Jack in the Box. They just pop up everywhere. But, condolences to the families. And I want to give credit to these social media people that, whether they made speculations or their own theories or whatever, at least the case got out and it started blowing up. So the case was out there. Social media was getting at least the case out there. And, all glory to God. And they did a great job. They worked together, overcame, adapted, and even without cell service and communications, they might want to work on that. Maybe get a cell tower out there or something. Maybe emergency phones at certain spots on the trail that they can call a security or a ranger or whatever, right? That might be a good idea. A landline phones, like a payphone. So far, a phone, and then you go so far and there'd be another phone. That might be a great ideal out there. If you can't get cellular signal out there, run a landline and put phones on the trail. In case of an emergency, use phone. And it contacts the authorities right away. That could be a great ideal out there at Devil's Den and other state parks. Right? There's an emergency phone there. Well, we're having troubles. We don't get cell signal. Run a landline. My God, come on. Run a landline. I mean, there's numerous ideals you can use, but well, there you go, folks. If there's more information, the case has just been cracked. The guy's just been picked up. You yourself heard that they don't know everything yet, so they would just be speculating if they said anything. They would just be speculating. They want to investigate it. And when they speak, they'll tell us the truth. All glory goes to God. Amen. I want to thank all you folks for watching. Make sure you check out the channel that I posted in chat. And great job, police, state police, FBI, and all the branches involved. Great job. We'll see you next case. You folks have a great day.